Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Off the Hook with MattyD. I'm your host, Matt DiNardo, and I'm interested in all kinds of fishing all the time. And when I see pictures like that, I get turned on. I mean, these are just huge flatheads and blue cats. So, where can you get them? Well, you can get them in downtown Richmond, and you can get them with Goober Time Guide Service. And Dan Scheida joins us. Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for coming on here. So I've actually been on the James and seen you in your boats kind of flying back and forth
Yep.
past couple of weeks. So first, talk about Goober Time Glide Service. How did it begin? Where did it start? And the name is kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, it is. I started with YouTube years and years and years ago and tried to make a run at that. And I've got a buddy that guides on Kerr Lake, and he was telling me for years that I need to get my guide license, but I'm also a school teacher, so the schedule never really lined up with when they offer classes and when I'm able to take time. And it's a pretty lengthy process to get your captain's license. So COVID kind of spurred that on. They did some Zoom meeting classes, and I was able to knock that out in only had to take a couple days off of work, 2 consecutive Fridays, and then worked all weekend through that and got the course done and started the business up about 2.5 years ago and just been rolling ever since.
And how has it been running your own guide service, and you're still teaching as well? So you're a little busy.
Yeah, a little busy, especially this time of year. We had the big migratory run on the James, and everything's up from the salt water, and we've been all over the place. So.
Right. So we're going to get into a little bit more about the species you chase in just a second. But so 2 years. I mean, how has it been? Is it easy to get clients? And this is a really cool angling area. There's so much to chase here.
Yeah, it's overwhelming at times. Things were kind of a slow go. There's also a lot of guides that run the river, so there's a lot of competition. But over the past winter, I went back to teaching, and I took some time to rebuild a new website, and that kind of spurred everything on. I kind of optimized my SEO, and yeah, there it is right there. So I just put a lot of time and effort into that, and kind of moving up the Google rankings, and that's really helping me out. So we're getting busier and busier by the month, and just had our best month in March, and then exceeded that in April, and we'll see what happens here with May. But that's kind of the spawn for catfishing. So that's a little time we take a break, but I do chase other species, so we have other options.
And where did the name come from?
Yeah, so I did a lot of YouTube, and everybody had a quirky little name they called their fish. And when you catch these big giant blue cats, they leave all these little booger looking things on you from their slime coat peeling off. And I just switched a couple letters around and called them goobers because they're big, old, goofy looking fish, and it kind of stuck.
I think it's great. I think it's unique. It's different. I mean, it sticks in my mind. Like, look, I saw. I think you were in it was a pontoon boat, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Goober Time Guide Service. I'm like, that is the oddest name, but. And we're going to get into River Rock in a bit. And then, some of my people here are like, hey, this guy I go, don't tell me Goober Time Guide Service. They're like, yeah. I go, like, how do you know? I go, I saw him on the river like a week ago, So pretty cool stuff. All right. So you mentioned you chase cats, blue cats, flatheads. Let's talk about the different species that you do chase.
Sure. So most of the year we're chasing big old trophy blue cats. It's kind of what we're known for. In the springtime, the flatheads have just been absolutely on fire this year. In a typical year, while I'm blue cat fishing, I'll probably catch a dozen flatheads just as a bycatch. And this year we're probably up to close to 30. We're just catching a couple a trip, which is unusual for the James, especially at least in this part. But we're heading into spawn, so the big blue cats, they're going on the beds and they're shutting down, and we're leaving big fish like that alone right now.
That is a ginormous fish. I mean, these fish are what, 60, 70 pounds?
Yeah, that one right there was a 64 pounder. That was in the first 30 minutes of a guide trip, which doesn't usually happen, but you can see they were all happy about it.
I mean, that pretty much guarantees them to rebook at that
They've
point,
been
right?
back. They've been back. Yep.
That makes it really, really fun there. And then another 64 pounder as well. This looks a little bit later in the season based on the fact that we're wearing thermals and really staying nice and warm there.
Yeah, we just got our new boat in November. I was having to turn down a lot of bigger parties, so upgraded the boat. Now we're running a 24-foot tri-tune, so lots of space, super stable, really comfortable. Pontoon seats up front. Full of fish and business in the back. They call it the reverse mullet, the company does. So we've been putting some big fish in the boat. That one was 62 to 65, something like that. And that was actually 3 generations right there. So, and the youngster caught it, so he was thrilled.
Incredible. I mean, so a fight like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the rod is just bent and it's just dogging down, right? Like catfish just like sit on the bottom, right? They don't want to come up, obviously.
It depends. We do a lot of different techniques.
Okay.
Anchor fishing is pretty typical for the James, where people toss out an anchor, use a spot lock motor, and just have all the rods fanned out across the back of the boat. But we do a lot of other techniques. We do some suspend drifting. We do a lot of dragging in shallows. This picture here is down the Chickahominy. We were on anchor with that, and that thing just folded the rod over. It had been a slow day, and this is actually the first guide trip I ran in the new boat 4 days after having it, 68-pounder in the boat, but it was incredible.
Incredible. All right, so flatheads and blue cats, but you said the blue cats right now are about to go into spawn mode.
Yeah.
So what else do you chase?
So this time of year, we transition upriver. There's above the city of Richmond, they have the fall line, which is about 7 miles of rapids, and great opportunity for flatheads, smallmouth bass, and we do a lot of crappie fishing and a little bit of striper as well. But
Are you getting boats up there, like kayaks? What are you doing to get
yeah,
up
so
there?
I run kayak trips. That's kind of what I started on my YouTube business out as. Lots of kayak fishing, and then we run whitewater raft as well, so we can get parties together up to 3 anglers in there. Yep. So there's the boat, there's the kayak. We have a couple of kayaks in the fleet, pedal kayaks, nice premium kayaks, and then we just got a new raft. It's a nice red raft now, so a little bit more room than that one right there, but you can get all the way up to the dams. And the nice thing about that is those areas of the river don't get a ton of pressure, so the fishing can be excellent.
And so when you're going for smallmouth in that area,
Yeah.
you're finding some really large, because I know the James is loaded with huge smallmouth.
Yeah, there's some nice ones in there. You got to pick your way through a lot of small ones too, but it also makes for a fun day to catch some big numbers sometimes as well.
And so, okay, so after, are you still doing smallmouth throughout the summer, and then you're going back to flatheads and blues once the spawning season is over?
Yeah, so kind of on our website, we have a ton of options, and we kind of go with what people want. So my weekends and weekdays can look like anything. I'll have a crappie trip one day. There's been days this past spring where I was out fishing Chickahominy Lake in the morning and then had to rush back to the James to fish for some flatheads in the evening. So we're just kind of all over the place. We have everything sectioned out on there. Catfishing is our bread and butter. That's kind of what we're known for. And then, in these slower times, we dabble with other things. This is the first year we're offering smallmouth fishing, but we'll kind of see how that plays out and what the draw is like with that.
And the equipment is completely different. I mean, it's light tackle versus, heavy rods here.
Absolutely.
So, and that brings me to another question. So you mentioned the James and the Chickahominy. Are there other rivers that you fish, or those are your 2 main rivers?
Those are primarily it. A little bit on the Potomac. We work with a couple guys that are big in the TikTok game, Has Life Fishing and Ernie the Hog Snatcher. They're up in the DC area. So we'll get up to the Potomac every now and then, but that place is just chock full of little fish, good for eater trips, and it does have some really nice catfish in there as well.
That's a good amount of running around for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you're covering Central Virginia from Richmond all the way down, and where do you find some of the best catfishing? And I'm not asking for your secret spot, by the way, right? Do you find it more downriver, like south of Hopewell, or right in the city? Where are you finding some of your better cats?
So I spend most of my time, and this is kind of a product of the types of trips I run. Most people, they say, you're coming out at 6 o'clock, it's going to be 8 hours, and that's what it is. But we offer a lot of options. So I'll run everything as short as a 4-hour trip, but I can't drive to the Chickahominy and tow the boat all the way down there for that. So there's some giant catfish just like that one right there in the Chickahominy. And if you're looking for trophies, that's a good place to be. But we spend most of our time between Hopewell and the city of Richmond. City of Richmond pretty much only in the spring, and then we work our way down closer to Hopewell for the remainder of the year. And then when we get our longer trips, we go down to the Chickahominy.
And that's one of the things I was just noticing here. I'm going to bring your browser back up, your website. And again, by the way, it's goobertimeguideservice.com is the website. You mentioned different lengths, 4-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour, and then you go all the way to a 12-hour. I mean, that's a long day. I mean, are you starting at like 4 a.m, finishing at 4, or is it based on whatever the client wants?
Yeah, it's really whatever the client wants. So being a teacher, I can get off of work at 3 o'clock on a Friday and hit the river all night if people want to. Cat fishermen are known to be pretty hardcore. So you've got the overnight crowd that want to avoid the pleasure boaters. We're getting into that season right now. And some people just want to go out at 6 a.m. and fish all day.
I mean, and that's one thing I do know is that, like I'll fish through dusk, and then, but I'm noticing more and more boats going out there, and they all have heavy rigs. So I'm like, they're going out for the cats at night. That makes it fun. Did you fish any of the migratory fish? Because you mentioned that a little bit earlier too. You did.
Yeah, a little bit of hickory shad. They make some phenomenal catfish bait, and we're catching some big striper on those as well.
Yeah. And is that another service that you offer as well?
Yeah, I actually have a striper mixed with a catfish trip tomorrow evening.
Oh, very nice. So
Yeah.
you start off with stripers,
Yep.
and then once it gets dark, you switch over
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
I
Yep.
got you.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
good. And that's a 6 hour or 4 hour?
That
Or?
one's going to be a 4 hour tomorrow. A couple of return clients, they're coming out, wanting to check the striper bite out, and they're not in season for another week or so. So everything's got to go back, but we're catching them about 12 an hour right now.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so what? So we now know the length of time,
Yeah.
but how many? I think you mentioned it briefly. You said your boats are bigger now.
Mm-hmm.
So how many anglers? And again, it depends, I guess, on what you're going for. Like I can't put 12 people on a kayak. I mean, we'll be
No,
sinking.
no.
But so let's, I guess, start with your main thing, which is catfish.
Right.
How many people can join you on an outing?
So if we're on the boat, I've had up to 7 people on there, and it kind of depends on the group. If you have a bunch of kids, we can play with those numbers a little bit, but it's a boat rated for 13. I usually bring a deckhand with me so we can drive the boat just like in that picture, and we can put our minds together and get you on the fish really fast and cut the bait up and have everything ready to go and change rigs on the drive and all that. But so that's 2 of us right there. And then we've had 7 additional guests on top of that. So we've had 9 fishing the boat. The big front part up, you can fit 4 to 6 people up there, no problem, just hanging out. And then the whole back of the boat for people ready to fish. And we've run crappie trips where we're trolling around and 2, 3 people are hanging out in the back. Everybody else is up in the front, hanging out, enjoying the day, and they swap around when they're tired of catching fish.
Is that an issue? Do people get tired of catching fish?
Sometimes,
Really? I mean,
yeah.
I'm used to smaller fish, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I've never had the opportunity to haul in a 64-pound blue cat. I'm sure that there's probably a little strength and tiredness in the arms at that point.
Yeah, we'll have to get you out there and show you how it's done.
I appreciate that. So that's a catfish on the pontoon boat. What other limits do we have? You mentioned kayaks, probably one-on-one kind of a thing.
Yeah, I have 2 other kayaks that I run in addition to mine. That's mine right there. And then I have 2 pedal kayaks that I go out with as well. So that's 2 extra anglers. And that's as much as I can really transport to the river and back. If other people want to come and bring their buddies who have kayaks or anything like that, there's a big tournament fishing scene, which is what I was doing in this picture right here. There's a measuring board for an online tournament. So a lot of people want to come check out the James, and I'm kind of known for crushing it on the kayak on the James and winning a lot of nationwide tournaments. So some people come out here and they want to see what it's all about.
And then you have the raft. You said now it's a red raft, a bit bigger than this one.
Yeah, that was a 10.5 foot raft. We've upgraded to a 12-foot raft, and I'm actually dying to get that one out on the river as we speak, but I have not had it on the water yet, but it will be out there this weekend, guaranteed.
I need to go back a second with you here. So you've done tournament fishing. When did you start fishing?
Oh my goodness. I've fished all my life, but I grew up on Lake Erie, so it was smallmouth and walleye up there.
Okay, so Lake Erie, like Cleveland, Erie, Pennsylvania, outside of Buffalo.
Buffalo, New York. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Go Bills.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you got Josh Allen. You got to win
Allen's
one at some
amazing.
point. He really is incredible. So,
Yes, he is.
So I spent a lot of time in Utica, New York, 11
excellent.
years,
Yeah.
and that's where I started fly fishing up in the Adirondacks and all that. But so I am familiar. So we've done steelhead on off of Lake Erie through the Niagara River.
Oh, yeah.
And then I do all of the Ontario trips as well.
There's a lot of opportunity up there as well.
For sure. All right, so you started at a very young age.
Yeah, pretty much all my life. We always went on family vacations up near the St. Lawrence River, a little lake called Black Lake, and that's known for big northern pike, smallmouth, a little bit of smallmouth, mostly largemouth, and then tons of panfish. And I still do a trip up there every year with my dad around Father's Day, so we're getting close to that. Looking forward to it. And last year we caught in the course of a week we caught like over 100 total largemouth and northern pike combined, and it was just some phenomenal fishing.
That's awesome. I mean, because some of the northern pikes up there, 30, 40 inches, they're ginormous, right? And you're doing those. Are you getting some of them on top water, or is it mostly mid column at that point?
So by early June, the weeds are pretty thick up there, and the northerns are down in the weeds, and that's really what we're targeting. We love catching those, and we're just kind of looking through, and the weeds are so thick that you just have to stand on top of the boat and pick your pockets, and we drag spinner baits through them, and they just crush them.
That's awesome.
It's a good time. So it's just subsurface, basically top water.
Too bad you can't do a northern trip down here.
Oh my goodness. I think about going up there for the summer and running this.
Right. Yeah, that'd be so cool. You don't miss the snow though, do you?
No.
Yeah, that's why we all move south. We're like, the snow thing is done.
Exactly.
All right, let's get back to, so we got a number of different clients that come on different boats depending on what they're going for.
Yeah.
What does a client need to have with them when they book a trip with you?
Not a whole lot. Just they need to be ready to have some fun and being a teacher, I tend to try and teach out there. So if you're willing to learn or interested in learning, it's a good opportunity for that. I can't help but stop talking about fishing all the time. So you'll probably learn something either way. But, we have a license that covers everybody on the boat. So as long as I'm with you, you're covered and you're on my vessel. That'd be different if you were in a kayak because you're a captain of your own vessel at that point. But in the raft or in the boat, you're good if you're with me. You don't have to worry about that. We get people from out of state, out of the country every now and then, and that's one less hurdle for them to jump. So,
and when I'm booking a longer trip, 6, 8, 10, 12, I mean, am I bringing some sandwiches? Are you providing sandwiches, beverages, non-alcoholic, of course, because I know we don't want alcoholic on the boats.
Right.
What are we doing there?
Yeah. So we actually have one of the big selling points for this boat is it was a brainchild of a company called Trax Tex and Apex Marine. So they have track running all over the boat, and I've got a grill that slots in the track. So a lot of times on the longer trips, we'll bring some food out and grill it out there and have a real good time.
On the pontoon boat?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a grill on the pontoon boat.
Yeah, it's not huge. It's about the size of the box you see on the back there, but maybe a little smaller. But it fits under the seat, so it's always on the boat. We've got propane ready to go, and we're known for hot dogs, hamburgers. We've done Italian sausages with peppers and onions, so we get crazy out there sometimes. We have a good time.
No offense, that's worth booking the trip just alone. I mean, sausage and peppers, I'm there all day. That's like my guilty food. I mean,
it's incredible.
It's so great.
Whatever you have out there, it's just better on the water.
It really is. And then if you're catching fish, it's all the better for sure.
Yeah. One of the big popular items in the dead of winter when we're out there in 20 degrees is ramen noodles. So we're cooking a ton of that. Cup of noodles all the time.
That is unbelievable. Going through a couple more of your pictures here. These are just, I mean...
That was a jumbo.
75 is what you have it listed as.
Yeah, you can see the head on that thing. And when we saw it pop up and we were about to net it, we thought it was our 100-pounder, but you can see he kind of thins out towards the back end there. But he's got that big old hump on his head. That is just a James River giant right there.
Jeez. I mean,
that was an incredible fish.
It really, I mean, so what is a fight like this in terms of length of time? Is it 30 minutes? Is it longer? I mean...
So that one wasn't terribly long. Maybe our boat's on a mud flat, and behind us there's about a 40-foot hole. So we just got a new set of rods. We're going to test them out, make sure they worked before we took any clients out on there. Yeah, they were great. Had a tough day fishing all day. We were about for about 5 hours maybe. Pulled up to our last spot, and immediately, we didn't even have all 6 rods out. Immediately caught a 38-pounder. While that was coming in, a 30-pounder came in. And then we're kind of dealing with those fish. I was just out scouting in my John boat on that trip, and my buddy and I, we look up and a rod is just folded over, and that we hear the line just screaming through the water because that thing started running up on the mud flat and he was screaming like a torpedo. And so who really knows when that fight started, but it was about 5 to 7 minutes after that.
And what pound test? Are you using like 100-pound test just because there is that ability? 50-pound test? I mean,
so we're using 40-pound mainline, which is surprisingly strong. I've got a story about that as well, but that can pull in just about anything in the river, including sturgeon, which we've accidentally caught before, up over 200 pounds. And so 40-pound mainline on that, 100-pound leaders, just because when we get into flatheads and we're fishing rocks and stumps and everything, you want to make sure you're not nicking it all up. And if you get a couple nicks in it, it's still going to hold up for you.
Gotcha. And so that's your mainline. And then what is are you using a steel leader or just a regular poly leader?
100-pound heavy mono.
Leader.
And all of that comes from the same company that makes our rods. They do Catch the Fever rods. They're down in North Carolina, and they do slime line as well. So it's kind of catfish specific.
Gotcha.
But they've also got a line of crappie rods as well. So we use those for our smallmouth trips and, of course, our crappie trips.
And now this next picture here, this this is ginormous. I mean, that's an 80-pound, as you have listed here, blue cat. I mean... I don't even know that I could lift this, to be honest with you. I mean...
Yeah, we struggled with that fish. That was one that was just destined to be in the boat. We ran around all morning. This is probably our 3rd or 4th spot we tried down near the Chickahominy, and we were casting 8 rods out. And I had 3 guys on the boat. There were a couple buddies from a different state. I can't remember exactly where they were from, but they came out looking for a 40-pounder was their goal. They kind of made that number up and went for it. We're always shooting for at least 30 pounds on the James because that's a trophy fish for a bluefish. So... They wanted to exceed that a little bit more and look for a 40. So we went 8 hours on the Chickahominy. We rolled up to this spot. We're trying to get 8 rods spread out, and I'm casting the 4th rod out, and everybody just starts screaming. So this pink rod is just buried in the water, and next thing you know, here comes this giant in the boat. That one was down in some heavy current in the Chickahominy. That's much closer to the bay than we typically fish. So very heavy current out there. And
Right.
that one probably took a good 10 to 15 minutes to get in the boat. And a lot of that was we'd get him up to the side of the boat. He'd open his mouth. It's like a 5-gallon bucket and he floats right back down river, pull and drag.
Oh, because
So,
he's just filling up with water,
Yep,
so there's
yep.
extra weight going down at that
Yep.
point.
And the 2-mile-an-hour current's pulling him right back with it. So it was a lot of maneuvering, trying to get that net behind him and not get too aggressive with it. Cause again, it's 40-pound test and that's strong enough, but one
Right.
false move and that fish is gone.
You're right, for sure. So when you say you're casting rods out and you're spreading them out, are you then trolling with the fish, or you just kind of anchored and they're wavering? How you doing, or is different techniques? Again?
I do all kinds of stuff. This specific instance, we were fishing a shipwreck. So there's a shipwreck behind us on a channel edge. We were casting a couple rods up shallow, a couple deep, and this one must have hit him right on the head.
Wow, that's just incredible here. Next picture that we have here, these are smaller cats.
Yeah, this was an eater trip. Typical for this time of year in the spring run, you can catch just a boatload of these things here. You can actually see that one in this gentleman's right hand here with that big old belly. It looks like it's already getting full of eggs there. And that was probably 3 weeks ago. So river's been warm. These fish are heading for the beds, and those big ones are shutting down this time of year, but mid-June, they'll be back ready to go.
And I think you said this earlier here. You haven't seen a lot of blues up in the upper part of the James, but you've seen a tremendous amount of flatheads.
This year in particular.
Right.
Typically in years past, it's nothing to go sit on a mud flat and catch a 50, 60-pound blue, but we only had a couple of those this year and just a ton of flatheads. So there's an exceptionally cold winter this year. I think it had a shad kill and maybe a lot of the baits hanging deeper. There's some spots not too far downriver that just hold a ton of gizzard shad. And that's something I didn't see a ton of up in the city this year either. Full of white perch, full of hickory shad, all that stuff, blueback herring all over the place. But gizzard shad were hard to come by until just about a week or two ago up there.
And so without having the bait fish, you might not have drawn those bigger blues up.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
So there were definitely big blues being caught, but we just caught a ton more flatheads and much fewer blues than usual.
Is there and this, again, I'm not a cat fisherman, so I ask a lot of questions. Is there a difference in the physical fight? Do they fight differently? Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yep. So the blues, they'll put up a couple of good charges and then they'll kind of tire out pretty quick and come on up. They're like the big dude sitting on the couch who wants to fight, and then he's tired and he just gives up. But those flatheads, they are sporty. They're kind of like the smallmouth of the bass fishing world, and they're kind of related like that for our catfish here. And they'll come to the boat, real gentle bite, swim to the boat or swim off. You'll oftentimes not even see the rod twitch. You'll see your line swimming off real slow. You'll reel down on it. You got that flathead on there. He gets real angry real quick, gets underneath the boat, and somehow they just stick to the bottom, kind of like a stingray. And then once you break them from the bottom, they run like crazy, circle around, try and break off, and it's a pretty ferocious fight on them. And the blues are just big old powerhouses. They'll do the death roll. You can feel the big old head shakes and everything. And so very different fights, very different bites, very different takedowns.
But you're using the same baits for them. They're both going for either herring or for shad or whatever.
Yeah. So in particular this spring, a lot of the bigger flatheads we caught were on hickory shad head pieces in particular, and then later on in the season they kind of transitioned over to live weight perch, those flatheads.
Gotcha. All right. So I just came across this picture here that you also sent in. I think these are all crappie.
Yeah, there's a couple of shell cracker mixed in there. If you look towards the right, there's actually a trophy yellow perch in there, 13 inches. So that was a
on the far right. I got you in front of the guy with the blue.
That's right. Yeah, he's kind of tucked in back there. But yeah, that was a good little day. We did a quick little 4-hour trip and tossed back a bunch of small fish. These were the ones they wanted to keep, and filleted them up for them, sent them home with it, and yeah, whole different setup, whole different ball game, but we kind of mix in with everything here.
Does that offer just kind of a nice break for you, since you're like, catfish, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, we can go light line today. It's a little different.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always want to be trying something new, whether it's a new technique on the water, a new section of river, a new species on the river or some other lake. And I've got a list of all these reservoirs I want to go check out. And a lot of times we're able to do that on the trip. So
do you find it difficult to be able to do recon on your own time because you're always booked up when you're on your own time?
Yeah, yes and no. A lot of times we'll check in on things while we're going. I can be on a catfish trip and watch my sonar and see what the striper are up to and where they're holding and what the bait's doing. So there are tells, but Yeah, it's the more you do, the more you have to be careful and the more you have to be on top of it. So to make sure you know what you're doing. So I'm primarily catfish, so I pretty much always know what's going on with them any time of the year and
Right.
other things I dabble in. So if you want a striper guide, I'm probably not the best, but I can do it.
Gotcha.
There are definitely people that's all they do, and that's what you want to do.
How long in advance do we need to book you for, let's say, going for catfish, or just in advance for anything, actually?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the season. I have a lot of people that are calling me right now looking for trophy fish because that's kind of what we're known for out here. And I'm kind of pushing all those trips to June. So our website, if you click on a book now button right there.
Right. Any one of those? Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of nice the way it's set up. It shows our calendar. And for that given trip, it shows all the time slots were available. And then you can just pick your day and then it'll show you the available time slots. So a weekday, I can't get out of the classroom till later, so I can only do, shorter trips and very specific times then. But if you look at a weekend time, like a Saturday there, the 10th maybe.
Oh, I was going to pick a longer one and go back to that book.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well just basically with anything, it'll
so
let
then
you pick your start time or whatever like that. So and it's a conversation. People pick what they want. And for instance, I had a group, they booked a catfish trip for Memorial Day weekend and they wanted to start at 10 o'clock. And I was like, let's get out there a little earlier because, the recreational traffic is going to be crazy and we're flexible.
Right, for sure. And is it good for, before someone books with you, because I notice your phone number is up here on the upper right, is it good for them to have a conversation with you? Hey, Dan, look, I've never been catfishing before. Maybe I should stick to a 4 or 6 hour trip versus doing a 12-hour because it may be too much for me, or are you going for catfish in the middle of May and you'd be like, no, right now we're not because of blues, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so a lot of people book and they say, I want to go fishing, put me on whatever's biting. We get a lot of trips like that. We get a lot of birthday parties with the bigger pontoon boat. We can run bigger trips than most other boats on the river. So we get, a couple parents and a kid and a bunch of their friends out and they just want to catch whatever. So that's nice. And we can kind of pick our boat ramp, pick our time of day based on the species and kind of the goals of the trip, but kind of goes both ways. I'll have some people that they want to come out and, they're traveling from a long way away and they want to catch a trophy fish, but they book a 4-hour trip. So it's a conversation. I say, sometimes we get on a fish within 4 hours, a big one. And, sometimes it takes 7, 8, 9 hours. So you might want to be flexible with that or consider booking a longer trip. And sometimes they want to, sometimes they don't. And, it does put the pressure on when we have a 4-hour trip and people want trophy fish because they take some time to pattern and all that. But, we know the patterns pretty well and we try our best, but you have a much better shot at a trophy fish with a longer trip. If it's eaters, we can make that work with pretty much anything. So
gotcha. All right. So beside doing your own guide service, you have also hooked up with River Rock. How long you've been doing stuff with River Rock?
So I believe this is the 4th year that they've been doing the competition, and this will be my 4th time fishing it. So right from the start.
So are you fishing it? Are you judging it? What are you?
Yeah, so I'm just a participant in it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a really good event they put on. I actually didn't even know about it the first year. One of my buddies just said, you have to do this. So, I was big into kayak fishing and this is a kayak fishing tournament. So I said, yeah, I definitely need to do that.
This is kind of fun. So it's called Monsters of the James Fishing Tournament.
Right.
It's Saturday, May 17th, which is the second day of River Rock. So tell us, in your experience, how is this event? It must be a lot of fun because you're fishing your backyard.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a section of river I know pretty well. The challenge is we're right in the middle of spawn. So it's a tournament by length. You're looking for your 3 longest fish. Either you can fish it by yourself or with a partner. And whichever way you do, it's 3 longest fish, either just that one angler or the 2 combined. So you're picking through a lot of small fish this time of year and looking for the 3 longest you possibly can. And you have a measuring board on your kayak, you take a picture and you bring it to the weigh-in, which is just, meet in the parking lot at the end of the event. And they kind of check out your pictures. You have an identifier that shows that this is a fish I caught this day and you have your timestamps on there and everything. So hopefully it discourages any cheating, which unfortunately is a part of any tournament, but this event's been run pretty well and I haven't experienced anything like that. So
that's good. So, okay. So the 3 longest fish, so you have to be pretty judicious at which ones you're going to measure, or are you able to measure like 20 fish?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so whatever you want to measure, you can measure.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So the first 3 fish that come in the boat are going on my measuring board no matter what. And then throughout the day, I'll kind of know what my smallest is and I'll keep trying to work up and work up and work up.
Gotcha. And how have you done in this event in the past?
The first year I launched and had some motor trouble. So the first 2 hours I had to run home, get a new battery and troubleshoot a little bit. And that year I kind of struggled. I think I was 3rd or 4th. And then I've won it every other year.
Wow.
So,
wow. And
I've had some
so,
pretty good partners too, though. They are partner events, and I have a couple buddies that really know that stretch of river, so they've kind of carried me a little bit. So I can't take full credit for it.
it's you and a buddy running as a team.
Yeah, I usually sign up as a partner, and it's just the three best fish between you. So I don't know why anybody wouldn't pick a partner. Just find a buddy, go fish, have a good time, and it increases your odds as well. You know, math teacher always looking for the best probability.
Right.
There.
I mean, 2 rods is better than 1 rod, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and
you
we
know.
typically run 4 per kayak, so now
Oh,
you're
is that what
looking
you're
at
running?
8. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Oh, so you can run. Okay, so 4 per kayak. So
I don't
now
think they have a limit, and Virginia doesn't have a limit, but 4 is about as many as I'm interested in running on the kayak. I've done 6, but
it
4
gets
is
a little
fine.
crowded.
Yeah, 4 is fine.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair. And it doesn't make a difference whether it's flatheads or blues at that
No,
time.
you kind of want flatheads if you
Because
can
they're
find
long.
them. They are longer for
Interesting.
the size.
But the blues run heavier.
Right.
Got it. See, I'm learning it.
Yeah, it's interesting. The trophy stats for a blue cat is 38 inches or 30 pounds, but then a flathead is longer, so 40 inches, but lighter, 25 pounds.
Interesting. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Those flatheads just have that big giant head, but there's not much to their body, and those blues have that big old belly. They're kind of like the Michelin Man, those big old goobers.
And the length of the tournament is what, about 4 or 6 hours? Do you know?
I can't
offhand?
remember exactly. I want to say 7 to 1,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, so it's a good 6
Yeah,
hour.
6 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, good time to check out a couple things. You can go try your luck up in the rapids, and if that's not working, work your way down and get some channel edges
Look at
and
this.
try and look for some holes.
24 results.
There we go.
Goober time.
Got it.
and is that, are
That was
you
me and my deckhand.
That's-
He runs a lot of my guide trips with me on the boat, and that's really his stretch of river. So he caught our big fish of that trip, and I think he caught the 2 biggest fish potentially, and I might have contributed 1 to that pot of 97 inches. But you know, there's time of years we can catch 2 fish that measure up to 97 inches. This is just not that time of year.
Gotcha. So and when is it that time of year? Is it fall or winter?
Pretty much any other time of the
Any
year.
other time, but just
Yeah.
not now.
Yeah, River Rock just falls during spawn every year, so
Gotcha.
and they do a great job with it. You can catch a pile of fish; it's a great time, but you know, catching those couple long ones is tough.
And how many contestants? I mean, it's a pretty packed event. I think I saw they allow up to about 30 teams.
Yeah, I've always been surprised. The ramp gets pretty full, so they do a great job advertising, and yeah, it's really well run.
That's awesome.
It's a good time. I keep coming back.
And if you keep winning, why not keep coming back?
Right? Yeah, they have some great prizes. I think they put some fishing money towards it as far as fishing licenses, or they have some kind of pot set aside. So they've always got some awesome prizes and fly rods they're giving away for prizes. So I've won a couple of those from Orvis. So that's right up your alley.
It is. Have you ever done any fly fishing?
I have one fly rod my dad gave me. Yep.
Yeah, it's a totally different
Yes,
style.
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a learned art, and then you still keep learning. So,
And,
but it's like anything else. I mean, you know, like I couldn't go out and catfish without knowing where to go, and I'd have to learn the rods and have the right equipment. I mean,
That's right.
you've got to just be able to get out there for sure.
Yeah, sometimes we like to go out with underpowered gear and light line and see if we can pull some big catfish in on 6-pound test or, you know, medium action bass rods. That's a whole different ballgame.
That's what I was going to ask you. So, do you try to, you know, when you're doing it yourself, to go for like the IGA, you know, records? Like, I landed a 50-pound blue on 2-pound mainline, you know, that kind of stuff? Or,
I've got a little bit of an itch for that, but there's one guy on the river, Mike Ostrander. He's all about it. So that's really the guy for that. But he and I sat down one night and talked a whole lot about it. He used to do a ton of the raft trips up in the Upper James, and he's kind of done with that. So I've kind of taken that over a little bit, and that's kind of his thing. He does the eagle tours and he does the light line fishing, and it's fun. I've tried it a couple of times, but you know, most people, they either want some meat in the boat, they don't want to be breaking off, but sometimes we'll throw 1 or 2 rods out there with light line and just have a little fun with it.
and see what you can do.
Yeah, you'll usually break off on a big cat, but you know, or you'll have 40 minutes fighting it.
Right, exactly. Try to tire it out, and then
Yep.
you're trying to revive it, especially on a big cat like
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
have to step back in
Yeah, that's the other piece of it. You really wear a fish out, or you have to really wear a fish out to get it to the boat.
to get
like
it to that for sure. Dan, this has been awesome. I wish you the best of luck. River Rock is in just a couple of days, so good luck
Yeah.
again.
This year I'm going to have to be on my A game because I've got a buddy coming down from DC, has life fishing. He's big on TikTok, YouTube, all that, and he doesn't know this stretch of the river that well. So I'm going to have to try and steer him in the right direction a little bit.
So you got to help him, but at the same point, he's your competition.
Well, he's my partner.
Oh, he's your partner
He's
this
my
year.
partner,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Okay, so yeah,
So we'll see.
but he's a good angler.
He's a great angler.
So he knows what he's doing. It's just like, we just got to be on that money area and then let it cash in. Got it.
We'll usually try and do a couple different things. One person's fishing one style, one's fishing another, but by the rules, you have to stay near each other. So you can only do so much.
Gotcha. And when you say near each other, like within a little bit of short paddle distance?
Yeah, I don't know what the exact rule is. I'll have to look that up before the tournament, but just close.
Just close enough, right? Yeah, for sure.
At least eyesight.
Gotcha. Very good. Dan, this has been a great conversation. I wish all the luck. I'm going to bring up your website one more time here.
Sure.
Again, Dan runs Goober Time Guide Service, which he started just a couple of years ago, but he's got a whole booking page. Again, catfish are his thing. Blue cats, flatheads. And right now, as we go through May, blue cats will be spawning, so he'll kind of shy away from that. He'll also do smallmouths once we get north of the fall line, or upriver of the fall line, I should say, plus crappie. And then, of course, flatheads. Anytime. You can see the rods there in that. Look at the bend in that rod.
Yeah, that's a downriver takedown right there. That's heavy current, big fish. That's a 40-pound fish, I believe, right there. But we also have that section on the website of fishing reports. So pretty much all the guide trips we run, we write up a fishing report, throw some pictures in there so you can kind of see what's going on.
Awesome. Well, give Dan a call, or immediately go to the booking a charter. You can do anything from a 4-hour to a 12-hour. I would suggest for the newbies sticking with the 4 or 6 at this point. Dan,
That's right.
And thank you so much for joining us on Off the Hook with MattyD.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Again, that was Dan Scheida, again, running Goober Time Guide Service. He's also going to be taking place in this year's Dominion River Rock Monsters of the James Fishing. That'll be on Saturday. You can go, and of course, you can sign up if you want. If you want to go against Dan, you might not come out as the number one. Dan looks to have that locked up, but you can still have a great time. And of course, you could cheer on all the anglers. Until next time, enjoy this River Rock, and good luck to Dan this year. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Off the Hook with MattyD.